This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Wednesday, March 31st. Welcome to Africa 54. We continue to work remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but what hasn't changed is our commitment to bringing you the latest and most important news from the African continent and around the world. This is today's Africa 54. Nearly 700 families have been displaced from the northern Mozambique town of Palma after horrific civilian attacks, according to the United Nations. Issuing a humanitarian alert on Tuesday, UN agencies reported dozens of people have been killed during attacks by unnamed insurgents who reportedly targeted the town at the weekend. Those who fled the militant attack have recounted hiding as gunmen shot around the place in what was described as a massacre. Nazanine Moshiri of Reuters has this report.
Nelson Matola says he's just escaped a massacre.
None of us want to go back there again. Many people died.
He's one of a group of survivors who fled Palma in northern Mozambique. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for an attack there. Thousands have been displaced and dozens killed. A reporter asks Matola if some of his friends died. They're missing, he says. I can't tell if they died. Islamist insurgents hit the town with a three-pronged attack on Wednesday. Fighting was still ongoing on Monday, according to a security source directly involved in efforts to secure the town. Many in Palma, which is adjacent to gas projects worth around $60 billion, had sheltered in the Amarula Hotel.
The attack starts when there's a camp near Standard Bank in Palma.
Michael Enoch, who arrived in the regional capital Pemba on Sunday, is a worker at the hotel. Islamic State says it's killed at least 55 people, including a number of soldiers, and destroyed or taken control of some buildings. It was not immediately possible to verify those claims. Most communications to Palma have been down since Wednesday.
Nazanine Moshiri of Reuters reporting. A French airstrike in January killed 19 civilians and 3 armed men at a wedding in the remote desert of central Mali, according to a United Nations investigators' report released on Tuesday. This contradicts France's account that only Islamist militants were hit. France immediately rejected the findings, which are likely to fuel domestic criticism of Mali's former colonial master. France has more than 5,000 troops in Mali and neighboring countries to battle groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. The Human Rights Division of the United Nations mission in Mali, MINUSMA, said it had visited the village of Bounti, where the attack took place on January 3rd, analyzed satellite images, and interviewed more than 400 people, including at least 115 in face-to-face individual sessions. In a statement, France's Armed Forces Ministry said the strike followed a robust targeting process that identified the targets as militants. Malian officials had no immediate comments. Kenyan educator and philanthropist Sarah Onyango Obama was laid to rest on Tuesday. She was also the grandmother of former U.S. President Barack Obama. David Doyle of Reuters reports.
Sarah Onyango Obama, a Kenyan educator and philanthropist who promoted education for girls and orphans, was laid to rest on Tuesday. She was also former U.S. President Barack Obama's grandmother. In her home village of Kagelo in eastern Kenya, mourners chanted and wailed for the woman popularly known as Mama Sarah. Her grandson Malik Obama said it was a day of great sadness, but they have to accept the will of God.
Allah brings us here and Allah takes us back. This is our home and we thank you for coming, and we extend our gratitude to all the people who have come to support us here.
Obama died in hospital on Monday and was said to be 99 years old. Kagelo resident Dan Omondi said many had benefited from a foundation she established.
So, while Sarah rests in peace, we, the Kogelo residents, we are quite happy. We wish that more Mama Sarah Obamas are born.
In recognition of her work to support education, Mama Sarah received the inaugural Women's Entrepreneurship Day Education Pioneer Award from the United Nations in 2014. She was the third wife of the paternal grandfather of Barack Obama and attended his first inauguration in 2009.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. Leaders of 23 countries and the World Health Organization on Tuesday backed an idea to create an international treaty that would help the world deal with future health emergencies similar to the coronavirus pandemic that is ravaging the globe. The idea of such a treaty, which would ensure universal and equitable access to vaccines, medicines, and diagnostics for pandemics, was floated by the chairman of European Union leaders, Charles Michel, at a G20 summit last November. Among those who formally backed the treaty proposal are the leaders of Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, Tunisia, and Senegal. The main goal of such a treaty would be to strengthen the world's resilience to future pandemics through better alert systems, data sharing, research, and the production and distribution of vaccines, medicines, diagnostics, and personal protective equipment. The small, impoverished nation of Eswatini had much to fear when the pandemic finally landed within its borders. The pandemic has been extremely disruptive for ordinary Emaswati, top officials tell VOA, but they have also learned some valuable lessons. VOA's Anita Pao reports from Mbabane, Eswatini.
Esther Milane is a patient. Every 2 months, this HIV-positive father of 4 wakes up early to line up at a government clinic near Eswatini's capital for his supply of free antiretroviral medications. The Emaswati are no strangers to pandemics. This small nation, formerly known as Swaziland, has one of the world's highest HIV prevalence rates, estimated at over 27%. But it's not that pandemic that scares him, Similane says. It's coronavirus. He says he's lucky to have not fallen ill, but says it's thrown his life into disarray.
Here in Eswatini, COVID-19 has taken many lives, that I've heard of. And the difficult part of it is the economy. The economy has been down, and there's been no jobs for everybody for something like a year now.
He's not exaggerating the effect of this pandemic. While Eswatini has only reported some 17,000 cases and just under 670 deaths, its small size multiplies that effect. Eswatini, according to the Africa Centers for Disease Control, has seen 1,400 confirmed cases per 100,000 people and 55 deaths per 100,000 people. But the population is just over 1 million people. According to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center, Eswatini's COVID-19 mortality rate stands at 3.9%. That's more than twice the U.S. death rate of 1.8% and also higher than the death rate in the continent's epicenter and Eswatini's biggest neighbor, South Africa, which is 3.4%. And it has affected lives at all levels of society. Acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku fell into this job because Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini died of COVID-19 in December. He said the past year has been tough.
When it started, we tried to manage it. The first wave, I think we fairly managed that. But the second wave, which was brutal, and this is when we felt overwhelmed. But it taught us certain things that we have now put in place so that if the anticipated, the third wave, we think we will be more prepared than the first and second waves because we didn't have the experience.
But Health Minister Lizzie Nkosi says their records found that HIV-positive COVID patients did not fare as badly as they had feared.
What we've learned, not just us, but across the world, is that HIV turned out not to be such a major factor. It is a factor, but in terms of the people that get severely ill and the people that we've lost, I mean, from our death audit that we did recently, we found that 82% of the people that have died have had comorbidities, and about 80% of those had either diabetes mellitus, high blood pressure, and the combination of those.
That is cold comfort for Similane, who, like people across the globe, says he struggles with COVID anxiety.
Yeah, I'm worried. Because actually I don't know how you contacted the virus. Just that is what worries me the most.
Nkosi says the nation is starting to vaccinate health workers and will soon expand the vaccination scheme. That, she hopes, will finally help dispel the fear that hovers over this nation like fog over its majestic mountains. Anita Pal, VOA News, Babane, Eswatini.
One of the biggest challenges in getting past COVID is making sure people get vaccinated. One South African youth choir is trying its own way to convince people to get the shot. Romaine Chanson has this report narrated by Carol Gansberg.
With schoolwork done for the day, members of the Ndlovu Youth Choir assemble on a stage in Mutse, a village in South Africa's northernmost province, Limpopo. The pandemic locked down the touring group for much of 2020, but its members have a message to get things moving again, as singer Thuisil Masanabo explains.
As musicians, we could help get the word out as like to encourage people to take vaccines, because people relate more to music.
Since 2009, the choir has provided music training to disadvantaged youth from ages 14 to 25 as a route to more opportunity. The choir has won international acclaim, in part after it was invited to audition for the America's Got Talent TV show in 2019 and wound up among the finalists. In the fight against COVID-19, the choir delivers public health messages through the song Jabba Jabba. The lyrics also call for people to wash hands and fight false information. Last year, after a show cheered by tennis superstar Roger Federer, the choir was forced by the pandemic to cancel 7 international concerts. Artistic director Ralph Schmidt found refuge in the recording studio.
So we used the time to develop new repertoire, to tighten the show, tighten the choreography, develop new soloists, and also create new materials, which resulted in our album, which we released last year.
Rise, as it's called, was named South Africa's best contemporary album for 2020, and Ndlovu has reinvented itself with online performances, installing a green screen in its theater to visually transport the choir for virtual concerts. But singer Lwandile Felicia Shabalala misses performing in front of a live audience.
The choir is supposed to entertain people, and then when we couldn't do that, it was like kind of sad for us. So that's why it was so tough, and it still is, but it's much better, and we hope that COVID will end soon.
COVID-19 has claimed more than 50,000 lives in South Africa, a higher toll than elsewhere on the continent. Singer Sandile Majola sees a need for the choir's infectiously upbeat songs.
We know the secret, which is music. So that's what we use to heal the world and to heal ourselves.
The Ndlovu Youth Choir is rehearsing more music to lift up audiences. It's traveling within South Africa now and preparing to go abroad once travel restrictions ease. For Romaine Chanson in Mutse, Limpopo Province, South Africa, Carol Gunsberg, VOA.
Let us know what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, a Ghanaian organization that is taking bamboo-framed bicycles to the world. We'll be right back.
We're bringing women's voices to the conversation, and more than that, we're building a community of inclusion and empowerment.
Here in Kinshasa, campaigns to raise awareness against the spread of coronavirus are common, but getting that information to people who have no access to water, electricity, or money can be a challenge.
We are here at Kalerwe Market in Uganda, Kampala, where in this whole market, women are crying out for their situations to change.
For women, it will be better for us.
I think a big thing for me is just being able to say that when these protests are happening, does it turn around into policy?
Our kids are raped every single day.
This movement got the governments to listen. It really was powerful because it showed what is possible when men and women band together and say enough is enough.
It's not necessary anymore to climb on a car. I can be in any place to cheer with the people.
Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America headquarters here in Washington. I am Shaka Sali. Straight Talk Africa, we call it like it is. We discuss issues that reflect the interests of our audience without fear or favor. We are guided by facts, and I look at myself as a servant of nothing but the truth.
Welcome back to Africa 54. In part 2 of her interview with me, Dr. Yetunde Omede, a lecturer at Farmingdale State College in New York, talked about how lawlessness and school abductions in Nigeria may impact President Muhammadu Buhari's legacy. I began by asking her whether she is aware of government programs to alleviate the suffering of parents and school children traumatized by these recurring school abductions.
There's a lack, of course, of empathetic response in terms of being able to appeal to Nigerian parents and being able to just appeal to Nigerian citizens that, look, we are here with you. We understand that this is an unfortunate situation that continues to occur. We take full responsibility in not providing the best strategies to mitigate such situations. But at the same time, I also believe politics, of course, are involved. There's also politicians who say that, oh, they're just, these abductors are paid and they're trying to make our government look bad. They're trying to make our president look bad. And when you continue to play politics with human lives, you get nowhere. And unfortunately, these are children who cannot fend for themselves. It is the responsibility of the government, of the security personnel, to do everything in their utmost power to ensure that every young boy and girl is able to live out their full potential and that it is not cut short by insecurity in the country that can be mitigated by many of the strategies that they can put in place. I mean, it just shows the level of insecurity that's in the country where any terrorist organization can come in literally and kidnap hundreds of school children in the middle of the night, from upwards of 100 school children to 300. That shows you the level of the security that the school has. We all know that school is supposed to be a safe zone for children. And if that is not a safe zone for children, then where should they go? Where should they go to get their education? If they're not safe at home and they're not safe at school, then where else would they be safe? And I find it to be very unfortunate. And I hope that the government and those who are responsible are able to really put together some strategies, really put together all of the resources that is needed to protect every single school in every region of Nigeria.
Now, parents are obviously dealing with a very difficult decision here on whether to educate their children or keep them home for their own safety. What should happen?
I believe that, look, the safety of a child is of utmost concern. So that should come first before a level of education. If I know as a parent that my child will not be safe in this institution, or they will not be safe in a boarding school, I may have to find different alternatives. Maybe that the boarding school should be on hold for now, and that maybe, unfortunately, due to the lack of technology, due to the lack of infrastructure, there's no virtual learning, right? And so that leaves a lot of the students behind. I mean, if schools cannot provide some form of security for the children or protection, then they're failing also as a school, because it's not only about educating a child, it's making sure that when they walk through your doors that they are safe and sound.
What's the overall impact of these kidnappings for Nigeria?
Well, the overall impact is going to hit in many different facets. It's going to hit economically, it's going to hit in terms of moving the country forward. It's going to hit in terms of the infrastructure, building and investment. So if businesses see that if schools are not safe, then is my business safe, right? And unfortunately, it's going to impact them economically, and it's actually going to just impact them socially in terms of how people assess the situation, how people look at the protection that's given as a citizen in Nigeria. And I feel that all the other issues rolled up in one, this is just another one of them that has continued to really hit the country hard.
From police brutality to school kidnappings and dealing with Boko Haram insurgency, how will this crisis affect President Buhari's legacy?
Every president is mired with some form of issue. Unfortunately, when there are a series of issues that doesn't seem to be addressed, or there's not enough communication regarding these issues or regarding the many insecurities that are happening within the country, people do remember that, right? Your legacy is not only built by the good things that you do, your legacy is also built by the things you don't say and the things you don't do and the things you don't appear to care about. And so also your legacy is shaped by those who you also put in power, who you also support up, who you also support. And so you'll see that even with his cabinet, the way that they decide to handle certain decisions, the way that they decide to handle decisions on his behalf is also going to feed into his legacy. And he still has some time in order to rectify his legacy by addressing a lot of the insecurity that is going on in the country. People do want to hear his voice. People do want to hear him speak. People do want to get an empathetic response from him, especially those from parents who have lost their children either due to police brutality or through kidnapping. And I think as a leader, just as a leader, not even as a president, but as a leader foremost, I think people are looking onto him for that. And I think that is expected. And I think it's important that he continue to put himself in the shoes of the many citizens in Nigeria. And once you're able to do that, you're able to understand the real life issues that are going on and also be able to feel some of the issues that many of the Nigerian citizens have been shouting about and have been frustrated about. So I hope that he understands that legacy is something that you continue to build and that it's not too late to continue to work on many of the issues that is actually affecting a lot of the Nigerian people.
Dr. Yetunde Omede is a lecturer at Farmingdale State College in New York and a native of Nigeria. In our tech news, bamboo bicycles in Ghana are generating a lot of interest in the international market. Bomas International, a grassroots community development organization, specializes in producing bamboo-framed bicycles for export worldwide. For more, Africa 54's technology correspondent Paul Ndiho via Skype spoke to Kwabena Danso, CEO of Bomas International in Kumasi, Ghana.
Kwabena Danso, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Paul, for having me.
You are everywhere. Bomas International is booming. Tell me more about it, my friend.
When you came to do the interview, we had started working on our expansion plan. We were looking at how we increase our production and also expand our markets. We've had a number of expansions, including even expanding our product portfolio. So when you were here, we were only doing the normal bikes and then the children tricycles, I think. But now we've also started producing electric bikes. And so we keep on developing new products. We keep on coming up with, and we were only limited in Europe through our partners called Maibu. But now we are also hitting the North American market. We've hit the North American market very well, and we are still working to get more shops and more partners to work with in North America. I think we've sold almost about 50 bikes in North America right now.
Interesting. Why would one want to buy your bike as opposed to the regular bikes that we see in the stores?
The bamboo bike is environmentally friendly. It's being made from wood. There's nothing like rusting on the frame. So the frame doesn't rust. It's environmentally sustainable. And because we are promoting the use of bamboo, we are also supporting the growing and the planting of bamboo, and bamboo actually absorbs more carbon than any other plant. And so once we are promoting the use of bamboo and the growing of bamboo, we are actually promoting environmental sustainability within the communities where we work. It gives the rider so much ride that the person feels very comfortable on the bike because it absorbs the shocks, the bumps very well. Though our electric bikes can be heavier because of the motors we put them on and other things, that is heavier. But for the normal bikes, they are comparable to aluminum bikes. The other aspect of our why people like is our social impact. We train young people in the rural areas, and then with the skills, and then we employ them at the factory. So currently we have about 40 young people who are directly employed at the factory.
The last time we talked, you talked about a project. It was one of your dreams, and I've since learned that you've built a school where you're helping kids in the community. Can you speak to that?
One of my goals is how do we train the next generation of African leaders, young people, to think differently, to think proactively, to become change makers, become ethical leaders, and to pioneer the development Africa needs and what Africa wants. And so the whole idea of the school is about change making. So currently what we're trying to provide is a world-class education using world-class pedagogy to train these children with a different state of thinking. We currently have about 370 kids between the ages of 2 and 10 years who are undergoing such training programs through our school. So it's been an exciting program. It's been a very exciting journey. I go to the school every day, feeling so proud, feeling so happy because we see the change that is coming.
How much of an impact has COVID-19 had on those projects?
Because of COVID-19, all schools were closed down for about 8 months. And so it affected the kids much in terms of academic work, in terms of training, in terms of development. But for boomers, we didn't really feel the COVID. Actually, because of COVID, a lot of people are now practicing social distancing. And so people are now more interested in bicycles. And because people are now more interested in bicycles, we have actually an upsurge in production. And so we are actually increasing our production to make sure we meet the growing demand. And the only way we had a problem was with the shipment, when we were shipping the bikes to customers. Because of COVID, there were delays in shipping. Sometimes you can't even get a courier to ship the goods, and it was hectic.
Kwabena, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you so much, Paul.
That was Africa 54's tech correspondent Paul Ndiho speaking to Kwabena Danso, CEO of Bomas International in Kumasi, Ghana. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, we thank you for watching.